Hey, what's up, guys? I'm TJ. I'm a NASM certified personal trainer, and today I want to talk about red wine and the benefits that could come from drinking it. It's commonly thought that a glass of red wine for you a day is good and good for your heart, and something that we should be adding to our daily routine. And as it's stated here, there is some evidence that drinking red wine may offer health benefits, but if you're a non-drinker, actually, health experts would recommend that you don't start drinking. And red wine might be healthier than other forms of alcohol and white wines because of how they ferment it, because they get more antioxidants in the wine because of the skin from the grapes is still left in. And one interesting thing I was reading while going through these articles is that a lot of the benefits may not be traced to the wine, but the alcohol itself, which is something that no one's ever mentioned before, and it kind of throws a wrench in the whole idea that red wine is good for you. One thing it does say is that the antioxidants could help lower blood pressure, heart health. More research is needed, and there's some studies showing that people that drink red wine normally have a lower risk of plaque buildup in their arteries. It's not conclusive. They need more research to try and figure out if it's the red wine exactly or some other mechanism going on at play. Resveratrol has come up a lot of times during my research, and that seems to be one of the big things that people seem to claim that has an anti-inflammatory, antioxidant property that is giving them the heart benefits as well as the risk or lowering a risk of cancer in people. Now, again, more human studies are needed to confirm this, and there seem to be some that show resveratrol is beneficial, but still hard to pinpoint exactly. And then to add on more, there's been some research that says it may reduce the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia, but again, as it keeps being stated, more research needs to be done. And then another thing is that it's always going to be moderate consumption. It'll never say alcohol does this. It'll always be light to moderate, may help. More research needs to be done. That'll be a common thing throughout these articles. And then also says that lower risk of diabetes, specifically type 2, and also specifically with a meal. It doesn't have the same correlation with heavy drinking or drinking without a meal. So drinking a glass of red wine with a meal is the important part in this. And I'd also be hesitant to take this on at face value because, again, probably more needs to be looked into. It even says here, inconclusive. It's mostly an association or correlation, not exactly a causation effect. There could be other things at risk. I think the main reason that I might say you should probably not be drinking red wine for these health benefits is because it comes with all the other downsides that alcohol has in general. And then there's also specific wine allergies. Now, granted, about 10% of the population, so pretty small, but that's something to keep in mind. Then people suffering from excessive drinking, pregnant, just alcohol and gout should not be together at all. Liver damage, unwanted weight gain, because alcohol and wine including does have calories and adds a lot of calories per serving. So even if you have one or two drinks a night, you could be adding a couple hundred calories without you even realizing it. And then if you are a heavy drinker, it just adds up a lot. That could be a whole meal's worth of just alcohol you're consuming in a night, which will lead to weight gain, because the main thing when it comes to weight loss and weight gain is calories in and calories out. And then it also leads to alcohol dependence. And here, stated again, experts say not to start drinking to help your heart. And this obviously is true if you have an alcohol use disorder or if it runs in your family. And at the end of the last article, too much alcohol can harm the body in many ways. Then it brings up the antioxidants then for your heart. Then it may help protect the blood vessels. Resveratrol coming up again. And then this one stating that they're kind of mixed, but there are still studies showing that drinking regular limited amounts of any important type of alcohol helps the heart. So this may have the heart being improved by drinking red wine be kind of true in the sense that it does help, but it has less to do with it being red wine specifically and more to do with it being alcohol, which is probably going to keep being mentioned throughout these articles. But towards the end, we'll get to a better idea of why that might be exactly. But for right now, let's just try and see how this develops. And then here it goes into the risks, where drinking too much can cause accidents, cancers, heart failure, regular heart rhythms. There's a lot of the stuff for your liver, heart, and just in general accidents, violence. And then obviously weight gain and obesity from all the excess calories that come along with it. And then the do not drinks if pregnant, alcohol use disorder, that's something wrong with one of your organs that generally can be affected by alcohol, or especially over consumption of alcohol. And this one study here looked at specifically the antioxidants in the red wine and resveratrol being active in prevention of cardiovascular disease by neutralizing free oxygen radicals and reactive nitrogenous radicals. And we can see it protects the brain by being able to penetrate the blood-brain barrier, and kind of adding on to like it, the antioxidants seem to be doing most of the legwork in this and not so much of the alcohol when it comes to this, especially when it comes to your heart at least. And this one kind of looks at more reasons why people seem to assume red wine is, and it could be that people who drink red wine have higher incomes, which tend to be associated with more education and greater access to healthier foods. And then red wine drinkers tend to be more likely to eat a heart-healthy diet. And then as stated in the previous article, there's evidence that moderate to light alcohol might help slightly with raising good HDL cholesterol, which is cholesterol you'd want in your blood as opposed to low-density cholesterol. And this could be a reason as to why it might lead people to think it's beneficial for your heart. I think the main thing is why I might be leaning against drinking red wine for your heart is because you can get it without having to take on the added risk of consuming alcohol as well, is because exercise can also boost your high density lipid cholesterol levels, and then antioxidants can be found in other foods like fruits, vegetables, even just drinking the grape juice. Instead of having wine, which is basically grape juice, with alcohol, you could just have it without alcohol and get the benefits that come along with wine without having the negative effects that come with wine. Now here, it's kind of saying like, it's not sure whether or not moderate drinking is good for your health, but for most people, it doesn't be harmful to your heart, but the key word is moderate. So moderate may not be is unsure of whether it's beneficial, but they know that we can be pretty confident at the very least that it doesn't harm your heart, assuming you don't have any heart disease or history of heart problems in your family. And then keeping all that in mind, if you just drink a moderate amount, you're probably fine. Maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't really do anything, maybe you just enjoy it and makes your life a little bit happier, and that's all good. And then, as mentioned many times before already, that heavy drinking can lead to a number of poor health outcomes, including heart conditions. Excessive alcohol can lead to high blood pressure, heart stroke, or failure, contribute to obesity, and in the long term, drinking heavily can just be harmful to your health. Harvard published this article that kind of took a deeper look and was able to find some people that are doing research that may give us a reason as to why alcohol specifically is beneficial for your heart. And it says here, when talking to the researchers, they found that in light to moderate quantities, associations with long-term reductions in stress signaling in the brain. And this impact appeared to significantly account for the reductions in the heart disease risk seen in light to moderate drinkers participating in the study. Specifically, again, light to moderate drinkers, and they received long-term reductions in the brain. So the main mechanism behind why alcohol might be beneficial has something to do with alcohol relating to how it affects your brain. And then they say again, we're not advocating for use of alcohol to reduce the risk of heart attacks or strokes because of other concerning effects of alcohol on your health. So for the most part, I think most experts would kind of be hesitant to recommend you drinking at all to kind of boost your health because it's not really seen as something that can do that, and the risks kind of greatly outweigh the benefits that you could be getting from it. But I think it's more aimed at, if you do drink, being aware of maybe how bad it could be if you excessively drink, and then if you're drinking in moderate amounts every once in a while, this might be a good reason as to why you could feel okay about doing that, or maybe more inclined to not drink as much. And the main reason they're doing this is so they could find the mechanism and then try and replicate it or induce it without having to come along with the adverse impacts of alcohol. And it talks about how they were unsure of where this cardiovascular benefit was coming from, whether it was their behaviors that they tended more likely to have, their socioeconomic status, or they had more access to healthy food, or other factors like protecting their heart. When they took a brain scan of a subset of people participating in the study, they were able to see the effect of light to moderate alcohol consumption had on resting stress-related neural network activity, which showed brain imaging that had reduced stress signaling in the amygdala, part of our brain that's deal with stress. And stress is probably one of the bigger reasons nowadays why we have so many heart problems, because everyone has a lot of stress. We are like way more stressed out with our busier lives than what we probably used to have. We're always connected, we're always working, we're always doing something, we're always having to do something, and there's never really a time to sit back and relax. And I think what alcohol might be able to do is kind of like get rid of some of your inhibitions, maybe let you let go, and they find that when you do that, your stress goes down, and stress markers that maybe elevate your blood pressure, when those things kind of like go away or dissipate, we can see over a long period of time heart benefits. And this one is like what it says here currently is the first study to kind of indicate that moderate alcohol consumption has long-term neurological effects in dampening activity in the amygdala, allowing your heart to feel some benefit from that by having a lower level of stress throughout your normal day-to-day, week-to-week. And here, one of the researchers said, when the amygdala is too alert and vigilant, the sympathetic nervous system is heightened, which drives up blood pressure and increases heart rate and triggers the release of inflammatory cells. If the stress is chronic, The result is hypertension, increased inflammation, and a substantial risk of obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Then light to moderate drinking was associated with nearly double the cardioprotective effect in individuals with a history of anxiety compared with others. And then one thing that seems to show why researchers are hesitant to recommend drinking is that while they found a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, the study also showed that any amount of alcohol increases the risk of cancer. And especially once you get to more than 14 drinks a week, the heart attack risk started to increase while overall brain activity started to decrease, which can be associated with adverse cognitive health. So a lot of the rumors or the common myth that red wine is good for you and good for your heart may have more to link to alcohol in general, but that link to alcohol may be kind of like a minor fix and a short-term benefit and not super beneficial when you lay out everything on the table. And they kind of finish it off by saying that they should focus on finding new interventions that reduce brain stress activity without the negative effects of alcohol. So kind of the main takeaway, red wine and alcohol in general have been seen to have benefits for your heart in light and moderate amounts, but there's a lot of negatives associated and tied to alcohol just de facto. And I think understanding the underlying mechanics of why it is able to decrease the risk of cardiovascular disease is important. So maybe finding more ways to reduce stress in your life and maybe eat more fruits and vegetables and things higher in antioxidants. That could be something you could do. You don't always have to rely on drinking red wine, but if you are going to drink, maybe just keep these things in mind. Or if you like drinking red wine, you know what, maybe keep doing it anyway, knowing that it may not be the best for you, but it's something you enjoy and it's not the worst thing in the world. It does have some of those health benefits, but if you really want to look to make a great change and really try and cut out all the crap from your life, not drinking alcohol is probably the way to go. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. See you in the next one.